So imagine this, a single government announcement kicks off a frantic 24-hour global scramble. We're talking hundreds of thousands of lives and the plans of some of the world's biggest companies thrown into absolute chaos. This is exactly what just happened with the H-1B visa for skilled workers. So let's break down how this policy bombshell just completely exploded in the span of a day. And it all started with this. This was the message that kicked the whole thing off. The Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, basically framed it as a really stark choice for companies. Either you pay up a lot or you send your foreign talent packing. I mean, talk about a direct, confrontational way to start what would become an absolutely wild 24 hours. So what exactly was this bombshell that dropped on a Friday afternoon? Let's get right into the details of the executive order that landed like a shockwave. Okay, the scale of this change is just staggering. We are not talking about a little fee bump here. Right now, the fees are around $5,000 plus what you pay for lawyers. Well, this new order added a $100,000 program fee. And, get this, the initial announcement said it would be an annual payment. Every year. And right here, this is the key point that caused the absolute panic. The way it was first explained, it wasn't just for people applying in the future. It sounded like it applied to renewals too. That meant people already here, already working, could suddenly be facing this massive new bill every year just to keep their jobs and stay in the country. At the same time, the administration also rolled out these other, let's call them pay-to-stay options. You can basically think of them as a super expensive fast track to residency if you've got millions to spare. It's all part of this bigger idea to reshape immigration around these really high fees. So, as you can probably guess, that announcement, and especially that word renewals, kicked off immediate and total chaos for companies and for individuals. And to really understand the scale of this panic, you have to look at this number. There are about 700,000 people in the U.S. right now on H-1B visas. Many of them have been here for years, building lives, building careers. And then suddenly, their whole future is just thrown into question literally overnight. And the big companies, they reacted instantly. A company like Amazon, which is one of the biggest users of the H-1B program, they didn't wait around. They blasted out these urgent messages telling employees traveling anywhere outside the U.S. to get back home immediately. And it wasn't just Amazon. Microsoft, Cognizant, and a bunch of others did the exact same thing. They told their people to stay put in the U.S. and cancel any international travel. The tech industry, which really relies on this global talent, just went into full-on crisis mode. You can just feel the frantic energy in this quote, right? Viciously texting. This wasn't just some boring corporate memo. This was a real person-to-person scramble. You had HR departments working through the night, trying to find every single employee on a visa to make sure they weren't about to get stranded abroad, separated from their families and their jobs. And the personal stories are just heartbreaking. Lawyers were talking about clients stuck on cruise ships in the middle of the ocean. People were desperately trying to book last-minute flights home. Families had to cancel trips they'd been planning for months. There was one story about a worker who was afraid to visit his own mother who was having heart problems back in India because he was terrified he wouldn't be allowed back into the U.S., the country that's now his home. So after this day of just pure chaos, when the panic was at its absolute peak, the story started to change a little bit. The shock started to turn into confusion, and people started asking, wait a minute, was that first interpretation, the one that caused all this, was it even correct? And that brings us to the big walk back. Not even a full 24 hours after the first announcement, the White House started clarifying and basically dialed back the scariest parts of the new policy. So that $100,000 fee, turns out it's a one-time payment, not annual. That's a huge difference. And the part about it applying to renewals and people already here? Nope. They clarified it would not apply to anyone currently holding a visa. And that travel ban that everyone was scared of? Also not a thing. Travel for current visa holders is not affected. So here's the bottom line. The final policy is way, way narrower. It's only going to affect future applicants, starting with the 2026 lottery, and only if they are physically outside the U.S. when they apply. For those 700,000 people who were in a state of panic, it was a massive, if temporary, sigh of relief. But the chaos of those 24 hours really revealed a deeper tension, right? This whole thing wasn't just a case of bad communication. It was a flashpoint in a much larger, ongoing debate about high-skilled immigration here in America. And you can really see that debate playing out right here. On one side, you have the view that the H-1B program takes good jobs away from Americans. But on the other side, you have business-minded folks who argue that the program is absolutely essential for getting the best talent from around the world to keep the U.S. competitive. And this policy seems to be caught right in that tug-of-war. And even in this clarified, less severe form, experts are pointing to some pretty serious potential problems. I mean, a $100,000 fee could totally price smaller companies out of the program. It can make it harder for the US to compete globally for talent in huge fields like AI. And on top of all that, the whole policy might face legal challenges, since a fee change this big usually needs a green light from Congress. This quote from an immigration lawyer really captures how a lot of people are feeling. Even after the White House cleared things up, the trust is gone. There's this sense that this isn't the end of the story for the H-1B program, but maybe just the beginning of more changes to come. So, while the immediate crisis might be over, the whiplash from that 24-hour period has left a real mark. It showed everyone just how quickly the lives of hundreds of thousands of people can be turned completely upside down. And it leaves everyone, from the big tech companies to individual workers, asking one really big question. What happens next?